guys, welcome to Hampshire Outdoors and Survival. So here we go. This one's taken a little bit of setting up, organising and getting myself ready. I've taken some precautions for this one because this is a high risk video. So my cam net that's above me, I soaked that down for a good 30 minutes, hence the ground around me is wet, and I did that with a fine mist, so it's absorbed some moisture, it's holding it, reducing a fire risk. Same with the cam net behind me. To my right hand side I have my hose set to mist and under high pressure, and also down here to my left I have a bucket of water, and in that bucket of water I have two very large blankets that are soaked, and the idea being with those I can cover anything that's ignited. Also, all burning will be done inside this tray here, which is a tray I use for putting under my fire pits and things like that occasionally when I'm out. And on the floor below that is an even larger tray to catch any spillage that I may have. Whilst I'm doing this experiment, all these chemicals will be stored separately in my cosh locker, i.e. big metal box where I keep my chemicals in the forge, so that again I haven't got them here if I get an ignition or I get a runaway or I get a problem. Right, on top of this, this experiment today is to cover spirit stoves, and in the event of an emergency, and I mean this in an emergency, so natural disaster, whatever, and you've run out of your methylated spirits or your denatured alcohol or your normal fuel source, what can you forage, what can you find that would produce you heat and make it possible to sterilise water? And that's my priority today. I have got to bring 500 millilitres of water to a boil, because that would be a last ditch essential system. I'm going to use the little folding stove, okay, and we'll see how that stands up to it as well. Every one of these chemicals is going to burn in a different way, so what we're going to go through today, we will start with methylated spirits, which is my normal and the most common one in the UK or in Europe to use with the spirit stove. I'll use this, and this will be my baseline burn. This burns fairly cleanly. Yeah, it's readily available. There are other chemicals that you can, or other spirits you can use which burn cleaner. However, this is the most common one, and this has been used in spirit stoves since the year dot, really, since the beginning of spirit stoves. Other things I'm going to go on to, we're going to try lighter fluid, cigarette lighter fluid, cellulose thinners, isopropanol rubbing alcohol, medical alcohol, Redx petrol system cleaner, basically it's an injection system cleaner, white spirit, lamp oil, and I will give you a very good warning with this one, paraffin, which is similar to lamp oil, not quite the same, and lastly, an experiment which I've been running for over 7 months now. In there is petrol. Now, I like my classic motorcycles and classic cars, and I do occasionally build a bike, and I wanted to find out how the newer type petrol stood up under storage, because I'd heard all sorts of rumours. Now, what I did was I went out and bought some petrol. I absolutely cleaned this glass bottle out. It's been stored out of the sunlight, okay, in a relatively cool environment, and it's been there for 7 months. And as you can see, there's some sort of algae growing in it. But I also wanted to know, part of my survival mindset is if I was in a situation where I found an abandoned vehicle that had been abandoned for months and months and months, and the fuel tank was relatively full, is that fuel still usable? Is it still can be used as an agent for running a motor, whether it be a little generator, whether it be another motor vehicle, a motorcycle or something? Could I collect that fuel and reuse it? And again, would it work on a spirit stove? So we'll get to try that out. The pot system is going to be my standard billy can, and as I say, 500 mils of water. So I've taken all the safety precautions that I can. I have a coffee here. This is going to be a very long video to make, and so it doesn't become boring for you guys when watching it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to film and describe each chemical setup, lighting, and then what we will do is speed up the footage, okay, run it through to its progression so you can see the flame develop, how dirty the flame is or how clean the flame is, and once the water is boiling we will put it out and do a quick overview on it and move on to the next one, and I will time each one and give you the timings to boil. Now I'm going to give you the timings to boil once it starts boiling, because obviously that's the information you want, okay. If you were to sterilise in water, as I've said to you in the past, the standard you want to go for is a minimum of 5 to 6 minutes on a rolling boil, a good rolling boil. If you can't get a rolling boil, then keep it to a gentle boil, but keep it boiling longer. Yes, you lose water by steam, but it will sterilise the water. Anyhow, without further ado, let's get on with this video. Let's start first of all with the methylated spirits in the stove with 500 ml of water. Enjoy the video, guys. So there we go, methylated spirits, empty stove, nothing in it, from scratch. Okie doke. And obviously what I'm going to have to do is every single time I have to clean it out, let it cool down, clean it out, and then fill it with clean fresh chemical or agent that I'm going to use to light it. So let's fill my stove. When you fill these stoves, the fluid level will come up, and if you give it a second or two you'll see it go down as it fills up the cavity between the inner walls. And what I'm aiming for today is a practical amount, so I'm actually going to half fill the stove each time, okay. Otherwise I'm going to be here till 10 o'clock tonight. So methylated spirits, take the snuffer ring out, methylated spirits is a light, okay. And whilst I'm letting that build a little bit of temperature, I have 500 ml of water there. And obviously if you're going to be boiling a litre of water, double the time, simple as that. Okay, we're going to place that on there and we're away. We'll let that burn. Judge that as boiling, okay, so that has come to a boil and it's starting to roll over quite nicely, and we'll stop the timer there. There's the time. Methylated spirits, 9 minutes 39 seconds is at a rolling boil, 500 ml of water, 9 minutes 39 on methylated spirits. So we'll lift that off, just have a quick look at the pot. Okie doke. So as you can see, got a clean burn, no real dramas with that at all. You do get a bit of soot on the pot from the methylated spirits. However, as I've said in the past, as your pot starts to blacken, don't clean it off. If it's silver or reflective, it will take even longer to boil, purely and simply because it reflects the heat. However, if you allow your pot to darken or season, okay, it becomes blackened, and as it becomes blackened it boils faster, okay. Again, it's just, yeah, one of those little tips. Anyhow, some methylated spirits, as you can see in the little stove, worked fine. 9 minutes 39. It's not a fast boil, but then again, we're talking about survival, so we're not talking about speed and efficiency, we're talking about just purely efficiency. Will it bring that water to a boil? So we'll put that out in the snuffer ring. And again, when you put your snuffer rings on, be careful. You need to drop it directly over the pot. Okay, didn't burn my fingers, however I did feel the heat on my fingers. The snuffer ring goes on for a few seconds and that is out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let that cool down. I'm then going to empty it out, clean it out, okay, and we will go on to the next fuel source. Excellent. Okay guys, on to our next fuel source. So our next fuel source is something that you can find in medicine cabinets, you can find in workshops, you can find all over the place. That is isopropanol rubbing alcohol. Okay, so we'll give this a try. Now this has a high vapor rate, has a warning on it that the fumes are quite dangerous. This is cold, has been cleaned. So we're going to half fill that. Yeah, it does quite a potent smell, which is a good thing. People say to me, "Oh, I don't like the smell," but I'll be honest with you. If it's got a bit of a smell, you know where it is. You know what you're using. You know if you've got a leak. Okay. Now, again, with all these things, bear in mind high vapor rate. So move that well away. You're going to have a vapor cloud here, and again, don't ever use these things in a confined place. You're using spirits and petrols and that, they give off vapours. They can fill a room, and in filling a room, yeah, you create a bomb. So that's lit, and it's lit fine. Absolutely wonderful. And look at the little flame. 500 mils of water in the pot, all from cold. Place that on there and we'll let that run. Stop timer there, and 8 minutes and 54 seconds. I'll set that back there. You'll see me. Grab my glove. Right, so what I can tell you about that is dirty. Okay, that is a very, very sooty burn. Okay, hasn't polluted the water. However, the side of my pot is, yeah, as you can see, it's very sooty. Okay, so not that that's a major problem really, because if it was a survival situation, are you worried about the outside of your pot getting black, or are you more interested in your water boiling? I think you're a bit more interested in your water boiling. It was easy to light, and there's about the same amount of fuel left in there as the methylated spirits. Okay, the flame itself seems a little bit larger and a little bit brighter. However, orange flames tend to indicate that they're burning cooler. Okay, when you're working with forges and you're working with gas and so on, you notice that when you've got a really good flame, it becomes clear. It's getting plenty of oxygen and it's burning hot. So the lighter the colour of the flame, the hotter it tends to be burning. The redder the flame, the cooler it tends to be burning. Okay, and that's just a rough rule of thumb. I shall put that down there. See how this puts out. Take the snuffer ring. Right guys, and on to the next one. So the next one that we're going to go with is cellulose thinners. Now this is something you're going to find in paint shops, garages, workshops in a survival situation, okay? But please be very careful with this. It has an extremely high vapor rate, okay? What you're going to see me do here, I'm going to want to get this lit as soon as possible, okay? Don't want a vapor cloud with it, light it, whoomp, lose my beard. It's taken me long enough to grow it. So what we're going to do, we're going to place that in there. Place into there the same amount, straight away I can smell it. It's a very dangerous chemical, to the point where I'm actually going to sit back and light it using my stick. Okay, and I'm going to move the bottle well away. Let's put the 500 ml of water into the can. And what you'll notice is I have cleaned the can enough that you can see soot build up on it. Okay, and soot does wash off quite easily. So we'll put it that way around this time, just so you can see the silver bit. Put that on there, set the timer. To a boil there. So that's cellulose thinners coming to a boil. And time. Seven minutes 50 seconds. Cellulose thinners. And there are many types of thinners. This is just the highest vapor rate one that I know of. One that I was always told to be super careful of as a kid around the workshop. So as you can see, burns with a slightly brighter flame. Okay, that's because it's got a higher vapor rate and it produces a slightly stronger jet. Okay, but again, it's a very, very, very dangerous chemical to use because of its super high vapor rate and its fume rate. And the fumes from this stuff is dangerous. Not so much when it's burning, but when it's just the liquid form itself, it will damage you. Okay, and the same with all these chemicals, every single one of them, methylated spirits, the absolute lot. Be careful of the fumes, okay? Not stuff you want to be breathing. Okie dokie guys, let's move that. So the next one we're going to try is, I'll cover the brand because I don't want to get into trouble. There we go. Basically it's fuel system cleaner for petrol engines. Okay, you put this in a tank of fuel, it cleans the system out as it runs. So what we're going to do, place that in there, and as before, you see it's brand spanking new one. And yeah, in a survival situation, you go find this in garages, again workshops and so forth, and blimey, it's expensive old stuff. So pour in exactly the same amount again. Looks a bit thicker, this one, obviously meant to be diluted by petrol. I've no idea how it's going to ignite, so again we'll take the stick, light the stick. Yeah, that lights readily. Place that into my fuel. Oh, yeah. And we're going to start to find this with some of these chemicals. Some of the oily, or the more oily ones, will take a lot more to light. and possibly put out. Okay, so that's our stove lit. Go with the fuel system cleaner just starting to come to a boil, and we can see how dirty it is, how smoky it is. Yeah, coming to a boil, and that is 11 minutes and 54 seconds. There we go. Fuel system cleaner. Trace out the fumes. Let's take that off of there. So, as we see, there's a lot of residue coming off that, which I'm going to stay well out of the way of. The fact that actually just get this thing out. That's very sooty, very dirty. Not keen on it. If I had to use it in a survival situation, of course I would. However, as a go-to, definitely not. Definitely not. So that's a fuel system cleaner. Right guys, onward and upward. So the next one we're on to, lighter fluid, cigarette lighter fluid. So you're going to find this all over the world. Comes in these nice little tins. Lots of different brands out there. So this would be a very expensive way of running your stove. But again, as we say, in a survival situation, foraging, you might happen to find a tin of this, and it would be worthwhile picking up, slinging in your kit as a backup or an emergency item. Move that back out of the way. Let's see if it'll ignite straight off with a lighter. Yes, it does. That's a good sign. We like that. And let's place our tin on there. Let's see how cigarette lighter fluid does. Lighter fluid, as you can see, coming to a boil. And the time for that was 7 minutes 13 seconds. Lighter fluid, 7 minutes and 13 seconds. Okay, that's not too bad at all. Let's get this off of here. Let it cool down a little bit. Handle. Again, another dirty fuel. It came to bloom quite readily, quite large orange flames. Oh, here we go. Exactly what I was talking about just now. Okay, snuffing out can be difficult. Some of these chemicals. So let's go to our backup. Again, if any of you ever have a fire at home you can't put out, wet towel, wrung out so it's not dripping, just thrown over. Starve it of oxygen. Okay, wait a few seconds, you can see it pulsing, where it's getting a little bit of oxygen in there, where it's sucking it up from underneath. It's trying to ignite. again, safely out. Put that back in the water. Again, and I'm going to give that a few seconds. I don't want it to spontaneously combust. So, on to the next one. And I saw that last one was quite dirty, however, worked quite well. Quite impressed with it. So the next thing we're moving on to is going to be White Spirit. White Spirit UK, used as a brush cleaner. Again, you're going to find this anywhere where you have painters, decorators, and so on. And again, pot's been allowed to cool down and cleaned. Exactly the same amount of fuel in it again. Doesn't have quite such a high vapour rate. I'll place that in there. Move that well out of the way. And let's see if it'll ignite with the cigarette lighter. Nope. Don't back to the stick then. So, back to the stick for White Spirit. A little bit of White Spirit on the stick. Place. There we go, coming to boil. And time 11 minutes and 17 seconds. White Spirit. Okay, this one took a long time to come to bloom. It takes a long time to generate enough heat to get that oil-based White Spirit to vaporise, but when it does, it's quite effective. So it's a swine to light. It takes a while to get going, but once it is going, yeah, it's quite effective. But as you can see, hell, it's a really dirty burn. Okay, you're gonna get a lot of smoke, a lot of fumes. Right, let's put this one out. Yeah, that one goes out quite readily. And on to the next one, which is paraffin. So that's paraffin. You're going to find that it's used for running equipment, it's used for lamps, oil lamps, it's used for oil heaters. Okay, you're going to find it in hardware stores, you're going to find it in DIY stores, places like that. You're going to find it in country markets. In the UK we have companies like, they're called Scats or Mole Valley now, I believe, where they do farm supplies. No, not going to ignite readily from the lighter, so it doesn't have a high vapour rate. Lights readily on the stick. Place the stick in the paraffin. And again, because this is used in oil lamps, if you put a wick in there, okay, you created a lamp, it will ignite it a little bit easier and a little bit quicker. With all these things, I'm basing this around a survival scenario. So this is what you can forage, what you can find, what you could use in an emergency. These are not go-to fluids or chemicals, with the exception of denatured alcohol, methylated spirits, and possibly bioethanol. Okay. Unfortunately, I've got no bioethanol here to demonstrate to you. All the other things would be last ditch, i.e. I can't find anything else to use. paraffin, just starting to come to the boil, and there we have 12 minutes 59 seconds. Okay, that coming to a rolling boil. So again, paraffin, dirty fuel. You see the smoke that's coming off it. You can see the soot on the can. Lift that off of there. So again, like the last one, it's slow to come to bloom. However, when it does come to bloom, it's a lazy yet fairly strong flame. Not overly affected by the water. It gets blown around by the wind, but it's not going to get blown out. Okay, out the smoke. Let's see how this goes out. Yeah, readily goes out, stuff's out. Lack of oxygen, it's out. So paraffin. So again, paraffin can be used. So that brings us to our last fuel source, bar one, which I'm going to throw in as a bonus afterwards. So that brings us to petrol. So this petrol in here, 7 months old, okay, and it is a one of the newer bio petrols, or ethanol, bioethanol. Okay, it's the new stuff that came out in the UK about 2 years ago, which we're all being encouraged to go over to. However, somebody like me that stores a motorcycle over the winter, I've got to drain down my fuel system, I've got to clean out my carburetors, because this stuff gets a bloom in it, an algae, and that will clog up all your jets, it will clog up all your fuel filters, all your pumps, and apparently goes stale. Okay, and when the petrol's stale, it doesn't have such an efficient burn rate, can fail to ignite in the cylinder, and so on and so on. So that's why I've got this. That's just an experiment I was doing for myself, and I'll run this over about 2 years to see how it degrades. However, so 7 months in, I'm going to open the bottle and I'm going to use petrol in there, and this is a simulation of what could happen in a survival situation. You could find yourself somewhere, you find a vehicle, a lawnmower or piece of equipment that's had fuel in it for 6 months, 7 months, and you decide I'm going to use that on my spirit burner. Now, clean petrol, whether it's ethanol, bioethanol, or whether it's good old-fashioned leaded with all the nasty stuff in it, will burn readily on these. But let's see how it does after 7 months. Let's pour it very carefully. Same amount. Okie doke. Seal that up and put it away. See if it ignites readily from a lighter. Yes, it does. So it's still got a reasonable level of spirit vapor rate to it. Okay, let's put that on, and it's 4 o'clock. Petrol, as we can see, it's just starting to come to a boil. It's just coming on now. Stop the stopwatch about now, and we have 8 minutes and 26 seconds, okay, to bring 500 mils of water to a boil with petrol. Again, a very, very dirty fuel source. Lots of smoke. Definitely won't want to do this in an enclosed environment. It's definitely an outside job. Turn that off. Oh, my cooker's absolutely black. So it'll take a bit of scrubbing up. And again, snuffs out quite readily because it's spirit based. So again, petrol's a high vapor rate. Okay, if it had been cleaner petrol or newer petrol, it would have probably gone a lot quicker. So that's how that works. So what I'm going to do now is talk about why I love this system as a survival system. Okay, so we've had a look and we've used our spirit burner all the way through. Okay, and that's using liquid fuels. Okay, we've used liquid fuels all the way through that. Now I'm going to show you an alternative that you can salvage or scavenge and use, and we'll have a little bit of a chat about how the stove works, and then we'll crack on from there. Alright, so here we go. Nearly there, guys, nearly there. And I know this has been a long-winded one, however, one of my subscribers, Manar, actually got hold of me and asked me a question: could I show different fuel systems and all the rest of it? And again, I could have shortened this and really done a very quick video, but I wanted to show you the high speed, so you see I haven't cheated, I haven't lied to you, I haven't adapted it in a way that's not practical. I'm not trying to show off, I'm just trying to show how this system will work and how it may benefit you in a survival situation. Anyhow, stop waffling, Mike. So we finished with that. You can't get fuel source for that. You pack it away in your kit. It's small and light enough to carry until you can find a fuel source. Okay, you're scavenging. You can use this as a little twig stove. It's not particularly brilliant because it's quite small. However, other things you could burn on it. Okay, so you can use Firelighters on it. You can use any Firelighter system going. You can use gels, you could use hexamine, but one of the things you're probably going to find quite readily in a say readily, you may find in a salvage situation is going to be things like simple firelighters, barbecue firelighters, or coal fire firelighters. And we've all seen these come in little white bricks that are impregnated with paraffin. Okay, don't overlook these, because you can take one of these bricks, break it down, place it in your box stove, and I'm going to do a final burn on that just to see how that does. See if I can boil 500 mils of water with one of these. Okay, most of these are impregnated with paraffin or something similar, so that they burn quite readily. Right, grab some notes. Yes, as I was saying, most of these burn quite readily, easily lit, and again, you may be able to salvage them on your travels. Okay, so let's set the clock. Like that one. 500 mils of clean water, and the clock is on its way. Fuel source is just starting to run out, so if I put a little bit more fuel in there, we've definitely got it to a boil, because it's just starting to form bubbles on the bottom. And there we go, 6:30 odd. So yeah, a little bit more fuel source on there, and we'd have had that boiling away with no problem at all. So here we go. What do I reckon? Oh, I reckon it's alright. So again, a little bit more fuel source on there, or a little bit more Firelighter, would have brought that to a boil without a problem. Okay, and again, it's an easy light system and it works efficiently. Now, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that's helped. I hope in a survival situation, if you ever find yourself out there, it helps you out. Okay, and it makes you realise, you know, if you're looking at building a bug out kit, I like a meth stove or a spirit burner, a full small folding stove. You don't have to get the same one as me. That's the absolute cheapest one on Amazon, and a lot of people have knocked it, and it is light, it's flimsy, it packs away nothing. Has it distorted? No. Hasn't distorted. Has it fallen apart? No. Has it done the job? Yes. How many burns was that, one after the other? You know, so it's, yeah, it's efficient, does its job. Right, so a meth stove. Just a quick one for you. So the green lines are the walls of the meth stove. Okay, the red is the fuel. The green lines are the walls of the meth stove. The red is the fuel. Right, and as you can see, you put the fuel in the centre and it comes up here, forms the same level. You ignite the centre, The centre starts to burn, creates heat on these walls here. That heat vaporises the fuel in here and creates pressure. That pushes it up. It comes through the small ring of holes at the top, forming a jet. Okay, so spirits will do that readily. Any spirit-based material will do it readily. I've used aftershave before now, although it's quite an expensive way of doing it. But yeah, an aftershave with an alcohol content will work. Alcohol gels, hand scrubbing gels, they will work, although they take a little bit of time because it's got to loosen up, thin down and liquefy. Anything like that will work. Oils take a little bit longer, so if it's an oil-based product like paraffin, as you saw, it takes a little bit more heat to get that to literally loosen up, start to vaporise, but once it does, you'll get the bloom and it'll burn. And even without the bloom, something in that pot is going to be a contained fuel that is going to burn, and it will take even longer to boil your water, but eventually will. Okay, and as I attempted to show there, if you haven't got fuel for the spirit burner, so you're on a long walk in a survival situation, there are other things you can use. You can use twigs on this box, you can use lighters, you can use pretty much anything you can find. And again, as I said, think paraffin lamp as well. So you could take this, put any wicking material in there, okay, fill it with the liquid, light it, and again you're going to have quite a long burning flame. The other thing you can do with these, you can fill them with carbon felt, which I've got some on ordered, I'm waiting for it to come. You fill them with carbon felt and it makes them a bit more spill resistant, and there are 101 modifications for these little stoves. Guys, so guys, I hope that helps. I know this is going to end up being quite a long video, and I do apologise, but again, wanted to make it in depth, so I hope it helps. Please like, please subscribe, please share, please join us 20-100 hours on a Sunday night, Hampshire Outdoors and Survival, alongside the Hampshire Hog Hunters, where we discuss all things survival, prepping, bushcrafting, camping, pretty much anything outdoors. Okay, it's got a great little community. So guys, this is Mick, Hampshire Outdoors and Survival. Love those you do, forgive those you don't, and as always, may peace and light be upon you all. Guys, have a great and awesome week. Mickey out.